Welcome back to another episode of Deeper Thoughts with the Geek, the series where I overthink UFC fights so you don't have to. You're welcome. If you're looking for a short and sweet breakdown, make sure you check out my quick picks videos for fast breakdowns and official picks. And if you like free money, well, potential free money, look out for my betting strategy video. I'll be posting it this week because I'm helpful like that. First thing I want to talk about is Jose Medina. And I have to ask, why is he still here? No, seriously? Why? This is exactly why people have started looking at the Contender Series sideways the last few seasons. Jose loses on the Contender Series, and not in some razor-close war, then gets a short-notice opportunity in the UFC, and somehow ends up with more fights in the promotion than the guy who actually beat him on the show. How does that math work? On top of that, he hasn't won a fight in the UFC. He's on a 4-fight losing streak, and it's not like these have been coin flip decisions. He hasn't looked competitive in most of them. So again, why is he still here? The narrative seems to be that he's a warrior because he has a good chin. And look, durability is admirable. But there's a difference between being a warrior and being a human heavy bag. A warrior absorbs damage and fires back. A warrior makes the fight ugly, chaotic, competitive. They take your best shots and make you question your life choices. A punching bag just absorbs damage, and that's been the issue. Jose doesn't go down easily, that's true, but he's not giving much back. He's taking punishment without shifting momentum. That's not competitiveness, that's survival. And this weekend, he's scheduled for another tough matchup, and honestly, I don't see it going differently. I hate to sound harsh because I respect anyone who steps in that cage, but at some point, you have to ask whether someone is truly UFC caliber. To me, he hasn't shown that he is. So I'll ask one more time. Why is he still here? Speaking of fighters on thin ice, we've got Chris Moutinho, currently 0-3 in the UFC. And honestly, with Chris, it almost feels less like he's been bad and more like he's been unlucky. His debut was a short-notice fight against Sean O'Malley, which isn't really a debut. That's more like being thrown into the deep end with ankle weights. He showed toughness, but toughness doesn't count on the scorecards. Then he gets Canetti, a fight that on paper looked winnable, and he still couldn't get it done. After that, his return bout is Malcolm Wellmaker. Again, not exactly a gentle reintroduction to the roster. Now he draws Quinones. And at this point, it's hard to tell whether this is a fresh opportunity or just another bad matchup. Because when you're already 0-3, every fight becomes less about development and more about survival. The problem for Chris has never really been effort. He shows up, he's willing to engage, but at this level, you need more than durability. You need tools that separate you from the regional scene, and we just haven't consistently seen that translate yet. So realistically, this feels like a must-win, and not the it would be nice kind, the career hinge kind. If he can't pull this one off, it's hard to imagine the promotion giving him many more chances. The UFC usually gives opportunities, but it also moves on quickly. Right now, he's standing right on that line. Now it's not all bad. There are some really interesting prospects on this card, and one I've got a close eye on is David Martinez. I picked him to knock out Oliveira when most people thought that was a stretch, and he did exactly that, put him to sleep. Same thing when he beat Rob Font. A lot of doubters suddenly got very quiet afterward. Funny how that works. Now he gets a real test in Chito Vera. My official pick is still David, but this is not a comfortable one. Chito is a dog. He's durable, he's patient, and he's the kind of fighter who can turn a fight late if you give him time. The concern is always whether you can keep a pace high enough that he never gets settled. That said, over 3 rounds, I just don't see Chito outworking him. David's activity, speed, and willingness to engage should give him the edge if he fights his fight and doesn't slow down. And if David does win here, things get very interesting very quickly. Beating a name like Chito pushes you right toward the top of a stacked division, and there are a lot of meaningful matchups waiting up there. Honestly, that's what I want to see. Fresh matchups and new contenders entering the mix. This fight has real implications beyond just one night. This card really feels like a showcase for the next wave. It's packed with young prospects, a lot of debuts, and fighters the UFC clearly wants to get a real look at under the bright lights. Sometimes the best cards are the ones where everyone's trying to prove they belong. I'm really looking forward to Kevin Borjas versus Emmanuel Rodriguez. Kevin is a dog, tough, durable, and never afraid to turn a fight into a scrap. The problem is, Emmanuel might be the exact wrong guy to have a brawl with. Emmanuel looks like he'll have the speed and power edge here, and that's a dangerous combo against someone who's willing to stand in front of you. He's knocked out a lot of his opponents, so the finishing threat is very real. That said, Borjas isn't the kind of fighter who just folds. He's going to push forward, absorb shots, and make Emmanuel work for every clean exchange. I'm picking Emmanuel, but I don't think it comes easy. Borjas should drag him into a fight, and that's what makes this interesting. Feels like a classic finisher versus durability matchup, which usually means action. Another one that caught my eye is Damian Penis versus Wes Schultz. This is a pure style clash, striker versus grappler. I'm curious to see how Damian handles Wes's wrestling pressure, because Wes almost certainly knows the path to victory. If he can't get the takedown, the striking exchanges probably won't go well for him. Meanwhile, Damian's entire night depends on keeping space and making him pay on the feet. Both guys are making their debut, which usually adds some chaos to the equation. Adrenaline, game plans going out the window, someone trying to prove a point, it all makes for a fun fight. One guy wants to control, the other wants to remove consciousness. Hard to complain about that. Another sneaky, exciting matchup on this card. Before I let you go, I've got a few honorable mentions. I kind of feel for Loner here. Don't get me wrong, this is a great opportunity. But after seeing how his last fight with Charles played out, jumping in against Moreno on short notice feels like a really tough ask. That's the kind of matchup where you don't just need skill, you need preparation. And time is exactly what he doesn't have. I'd be genuinely surprised if he pulls this one off. But hey, it's MMA, so you never know. But smart pick is Brandon. Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green should be a fun one. King Green is always entertaining. Awkward rhythm, weird timing, hands down, talking mid-fight. It's stressful to watch and impressive at the same time. You never quite know what he's about to do, and half the time, neither does his opponent. Zellhuber's going to have to stay disciplined because King thrives when fights get chaotic. And lastly, I'm really curious how Aylan Perez handles the reach of Macy Chiasson. Macy is long, aggressive, and she actually comes to fight. She's not there to stall rounds. That alone should make this interesting. Range management is going to matter a lot here. So overall, this is one of those cards that doesn't scream superstar power, but it has a lot going on underneath the surface. You've got fighters fighting for their roster spots, prospects trying to prove they belong, and a few matchups where styles alone guarantee action. Some guys are trying to climb into contention, others are just trying to stay employed, and those usually end up being the most intense fights. It might not be the flashiest card on paper, but these are often the ones where new names are made, and we end up remembering a few performances months from now. As always, these are just the deeper thoughts of a geek who probably watches too much tape and yells, "Move your head," at his TV like the fighters can hear him. If you agree, disagree, or think I'm completely off, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one.